What is up, gentlemen? Week 1 of fantasy football has come and gone, and we are here back to do the recaps, to see what has gone on in our fantasy football season. It is me, the commissioner, the host of this show, Evan Travis, and I am here ready to go. There's a lot to talk about. There is a lot to talk about. There's some teams that were bad. There were some teams that were okay, and there are some teams that were great, and we're going to dive into all of it. I've got a special guest with me here today. You will see him. You all know him very well. His name is Andrew Dunn. Andrew Dunn, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you, Ev. It was a tough fantasy week. We weren't expecting a lot with the injury bug hitting, but it's all about next week, next man up. You know how it is.
I do very well know how it is. But we are here. We're looking at the league home. I'm in a different home from last year, but we still provide the same content for all of you. And so the first thing that we typically do is we jump and look at the beautiful final standing projections that ESPN provides us that everybody knows are absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just the truth.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Because the reason why we know it's not the truth is because Team Delt has went from 10th place to 6th place after scoring, I think, 80 points this week, and so that's a complete joke. The new guy is not going to finish in the top 6, in my opinion. He will be fighting for his chances against the losing punishment.
I will say, though, I think some of the trending downs are pretty accurate. I mean, you got me trending down, obvious reasons. You have Jared trending down to 10 where he really should have been from the beginning. So you do like to see that.
You do. You and Jared were hit with the injury bug the most, unfortunately. Travis Kelce won't be out as long as Cooper Kupp, but Jared he's going to be struggling. So I thought it was interesting. I'm not going to go through all of this because it's crazy, but recent activity after week 1, waiver wires went crazy. Lots of people dropped, lots of people added. J.K. Dobbins is out for the season, which is unfortunate for him. I dropped Aaron Rodgers because the Jets have the worst luck in history. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into the box scores for week 1. Obviously, starting with our matchup. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we all know what's jumping off the page on my side. I got a total of 0 points from my receiving core, which is impressive. I've never seen that before.
I have never. It's almost like you started.
We've been playing for 6 years. I mean, that's there's 160 games a season or whatever. I mean, yeah, you really hate to see that.
You do.
And it was kind of a double whammy because didn't want to be starting Drake London to begin with the Cooper Kupp injury, but I mean, who would have thought with T Higgins? I mean, he was my 4th round pick. I mean,
that's crazy. Yeah, I got lucky that they both scored 0 because my quarterback put up a whopping 4 points, and that is a trend that you will actually see this week. Is the quarterback position absolutely sucking? Just horrible performances by the quarterback. I mean, Jalen Hurts got 12 points. That's it. So, yeah, besides kind of the 2 wide receivers killing you, your team did all right. I mean, J.K. Dobbins got hurt. Breece Hall was a surprise. He did better than I think many people were expecting.
And Jacoby Myers being wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 on the week.
Yeah.
Not with a lot of volume, just kind of two touchdowns will do it for you.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals did not only screw you over, but we will see in the games to come how they completely screwed over some other individuals as well. I was shocked by that game, to be honest with you. So,
yeah, I was initially shocked as well, but my brother brought up a good point. I don't think Joe Burrow's won in Cleveland his entire career.
Really?
He never plays well there. So maybe we should have seen it coming a little bit. Obviously not 24-3 coming, but
sure.
Loss.
Yeah. I mean, besides my quarterback situation, I'm pretty excited for my team. McCaffrey performed as McCaffrey does. I don't know why ESPN was snubbing him with a 15-point projection, but that's fine. And Aaron Jones was a surprise for me, putting up 25. Very happy to see that with Jordan Love at quarterback. So it'll be interesting once the bye weeks hit. I have absolutely no depth on my team. So the other, I wasn't going to call it a slugfest until Tyreek Hill and the Cowboys defense decided to play. But Sternick, I was talking to Sternick, and he was feeling very good about his situation against Ari until my beloved Tyreek Hill, who I've had the past 3 years in a row, who has escaped me, put up 39 points, with the Dallas Cowboys putting up 35 points right behind him, and there you go. That's why Ari won this game.
Yeah, I mean, you just really hate to see that as Sternick. I think it's funny because this seems to happen more to Sternick than any other team of him just putting up big numbers and losing. I mean he's got shitty fantasy defense.
He does. His fantasy defense is horrific. Ari also having another player who puts up 0 points, Dallas Goedert. So it's a bit of a trend this week of players putting up 0 points. But, I mean, Ari's team performed very average besides Tyreek Hill and his defense. So,
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, no one else actually hit projections.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
I think I personally, because I have had Tyreek Hill for many years, put him as wide receiver maybe 2 in the NFL, above Chase or Jefferson, however you want to make that debate. I think Tyreek Hill is a better receiver than both those. Or I think he's number 2, if not 3.
Yeah,
with his output.
I was praying that Hill was going to drop to me because Ari was picking one before me, and I got stuck with Cooper Kupp, who it's just I just think a significant downgrade even when he's healthy.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep that up. I was surprised by Calvin Ridley putting up 20. That's a good sign for Sternick. And Bijan Robinson had a good first game. So we'll see. We will see. Sternick is riding the rookies with Bijan, and he has Zay Flowers on his bench. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too with Sternick with having Waddle, who did okay, but if teams are going to more and more throw 2-3 guys at Hill just to try and stop him, will Waddle start getting easy single coverage and start blowing things up?
It's what happened last year towards the end of the year. I think Joe, R.I.P., had Waddle on his team last year. Yeah, pouring up for your boy, right, Matt? Speaking of Matt, he was the other individual who got completely snubbed by the Bengals with his quarterback putting up less than mine with 3 points, which is absolutely shocking from a man who just got a bag to play quarterback. Actually, both these quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, combined put up 12 points, which is unheard of for these two, which, you see Matt lost by 4 points. So there it is. I mean, Matt's team just didn't perform. Matt's a guy that always has a good fantasy team, has been very consistent in the league. From bench to starters, his team stunk. So it'll be interesting to see how he recovers from that. What are your thoughts on Brandon's team?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's team just kind of really rides his receivers, I think, with Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Debo. I mean, that's probably the best receiving core in the league.
Yeah.
But then, having then on the other side, James Cook and Dalvin Cook. I mean, a little bit of brotherly love there, but that's about it. I mean,
he has Kamara on his bench for when he's not suspended, but we'll see how well he plays. He wasn't that great last year, to be honest. I do think James Cook is a steal. I think James Cook will be really good this year, in my not professional opinion. But
yeah, I mean, but I wouldn't say necessarily it's a steal. He got him at 62nd overall, so it wasn't like it wasn't a deep round pull necessarily. But yeah,
that's true.
It definitely could be pretty high value. But yeah, I mean, I'm very biased. I'm hoping Dalvin Cook does nothing because I got Breece Hall. So
that's true.
There's a grain of salt to that analysis.
Sweet. All right, 2 more games to go. Let's move over to Ben and Kevin. A lot of scores in the 80s, no scores in the 90s this week. It was kind of split. We had 4 teams score over 100, and then everyone else scored 87 points or less. So it's kind
Yeah.
of a weird spread in fantasy this week, with one team barely grazing 70.
Yeah,
So
we don't even need to talk about who that is. We already know.
I was surprised. I mean, Kevin, obviously, Jamar Chase not performing. Lamar Jackson, another one of those quarterbacks, only 6 points in a
Yep.
25-9 win. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how these quarterbacks bounce back in the following weeks. But yeah, just some weird. I feel like this is one of the weirdest weeks of fantasy I've experienced in a while, just with different point totals and
Yeah.
everything like that. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's gonna be some tough decisions to make for people next week. I mean, like if you're Ben, are you gonna start Ayuk over a Tyler Lockett who didn't perform week one, but you just never know week in week out. I think that's the fun of early season fantasy. If you just never know who's gonna be the breakout people.
right. You don't know if your defense is going to get you 35 points or get you -2. So, yeah, I mean, not a ton to talk about in this game. Kevin only had two people get more than 10 points, and one of those was his defense. So that tells you how his team did. And then the last game was an absolute shootout between
Oh
these
yes,
two.
I'm excited to talk about this one.
if it,
Talk about a guy. My favorite part about this with Jared is he actually had his quarterback perform. Justin Herbert was the only one who did well.
That's actually such a good point. He was one of the few teams that the quarterback actually showed up. Just the rest of his team was terrible. So, I mean, you do see Travis Kelce on his bench. Like, we get it. But even if Kelce put up 20 points, he still would have lost because that's just 15 more than 71 is, 86. So he still would have lost even if Kelce put up 20 points. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Jared recovers from this one. It's unfortunate that Garrett Wilson just lost his quarterback, so we'll see how well Zach Wilson is
Yeah,
able to actually play some football. But
yeah. I mean, you really hate to see it. Jared picked Garrett Wilson. I mean, I was real happy. I was drafting right
was
after
that
him
his
in that
first
round.
pick?
No, it was his second pick, but I picked
Oh,
Tony Pollard the pick after.
no, you didn't.
Yes, he left Tony Pollard on the board in order to pick Garrett fucking Wilson.
All I know is Jared was feeling really good about his fantasy team this
He was
year.
he was feeling really good. I mean, I appreciate it, man. If you're watching this, Jared, thank you.
I
Uh,
can't wait for Jared to get mad at me for telling him how bad his team is, and then complain about it for the rest of the year. So
I mean, he could. I'd like to see him do well, and by well, I mean maybe not in the losers bracket.
you know what? In his credit, he has a decent bench. He has Mike Evans on the bench, who actually had a
Yeah,
decent game. Travis Kelsey's on his bench. Jamal Williams didn't have an awesome game one, but I think Jamal Williams will be pretty good. It's a much better flex start than Deontay Johnson. And
yeah.
so
Hey,
I
he's got Christian Kirk too, who put up a lot of production for me last year. I mean,
Yeah, so I think he can figure it out. It's just going to come to, is Jared the kind of fantasy manager that can start the right team?
but I also think he maybe just has the Ashland Ale House of teams here, where it's like everything's mid. It, it doesn't like there's no wrong answers, but there's also no right.
That's very true. Well, Jake, congratulations on your first official win in the league. I feel like this one was more of a here you go, Merry Christmas kind of win, but you can still feel good about it nonetheless. You would have beaten actually half the teams in the league with a score of 87. So pretty fascinating stuff with that. Um, Anyways, I think we can start to wind down here. These are the matchups for next week. I'm going up against Ben. That should be a good game. Both 1-0. Matt and Sternick going up against each other. You've got a bye week basically. Playing
Yeah,
Jared.
I mean, if I lose next week, I mean, you have every right to pull Jared onto the podcast so he can roast me.
I think it'll be a good one. And then what I'm excited to watch is between Ari and Kevin. Both teams are projected to score the most out of anybody, but Kevin being 0-1 and Ari being 1-0, it could just be one of those tough starts for Kevin, starting 0-2 with a team that's projected to get 120 points each week. But we'll see. And then obviously with Brandon and Jake as the final matchup. So lots of things happening. Lots of good stuff going on. Done any parting words for the crew?
Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited for another good season. I think potentially we got a lot of parity this year. It doesn't look like there's maybe one team running away early. So I think that it's going to make for exciting. What we got 17 more weeks of this, or
I know.
16 more of
16 more
fantasy, but
weeks.
17 of NFL.
Yeah, so it should be good. Should be good. Gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Dunn, thanks for joining the show. We are excited to keep you posted on how things are going. And until next time, it's your boy. Peace.
Peace, deuces.